All right. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Nonsense podcast. This is your host, Caleb, and my partner,
Jared. What's going on, guys?
of course, as always, Nigel in the studio with us. Hey, Nigel.
Called him Nigel
Every
again.
time.
Yeah,
every
right.
time. For those of you who just started listening to us, we apologize, but today's episode is going to be more of, more of a B-roll kind of thing. It's something that we just accidentally recorded sometime back, about a month ago?
It was a couple weeks, 2 or 3
Couple
weeks
weeks.
ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was just between shows. It was a day that we had recorded 2 different shows, and we left it recording, and we just kind of talked some shit about Star Wars and music and all sorts of
Politics and yeah.
all sorts of good shit.
things.
So it's going to be a little bit different than our normal format, but the reasoning for that, Jared,
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties and physical difficulties.
Yeah.
My partner Jared is gimpy. He
I am a little bit, yeah.
he sustained the same ankle injury that I had at the beginning of the podcast, because that seems to be how life works for us, isn't it, buddy?
It's just one continuous shitstorm, yes.
Anyway, we're taking a week off to upgrade some equipment. We're trying to work out. Some of you might have noticed in the sports ball episode, there's a little bit of static in the background, and that's because we've been having technical difficulties. I think we've recorded and not produced about 3 episodes now because of technical shit.
At least.
So we're just taking the week off to do that. I'm gonna throw together that B-roll stuff, and hopefully you guys will get at least a little bit of a kick out of it. We enjoyed having that
Small
conversation.
kick. Yeah.
Just a little kind of kick, but yeah. Anyway,
kick. Hi, kick.
well, that's about it for the intro. So we'll just leave you here. Thanks for listening.
Doodles. Well, I guess that doesn't make sense.
It does, because that's the last time we're going to talk. This conversation, my art. I can't sing. I can't play instruments very well, as you know, since I sat next to you playing instruments in band.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
But, through my life, I make friends with people that challenge me in ways,
To change them?
not to change them. It's not a goal to change someone else. It's just a goal to meet in the middle somewhere. I find someone that I don't disagree with at all, and I'm like, okay, they're cool. I can hang out with them. I find someone that I do disagree with a lot that are still good people. Like, you know how you can know somebody for years and they're like a totally normal guy. You're okay with them, whatever. You're not like best friends or anything. But then one day you learn some weird ass wonky shit that they think, and you just want to be like, that's dumb.
What's
as
wrong with
fuck.
you?
Like, from my perspective, you're an idiot. And then most of the times I confront people. I mean, I'm brutally honest about shit like that. If I think you're saying something stupid, I'll be like, I think that's fucking stupid. But I also don't shut you down when you come back at me. And as a matter of fact, I tend to form a lot of friendships because when I say that's fucking stupid, they go, well, I don't see it that way, and talk to me about it and let me try to understand. And for the most part, I will. Again, unless you're calling for someone to be harmed. Sorry, I had to burp.
No worries.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just I consider that my art. That's why I'm doing the podcast. I know we have different reasons, but that's why I'm doing the podcast.
Right.
In the first place is because I want to reach out to the world and get the shittiest, most fucked up opinions that I can find that aren't calling for someone to harm or be harmed, and confront those ideas
Head on.
and not in a goal to change their ideas, but in a goal to understand their ideas, and maybe if once I understand them, I still disagree, help them understand my ideas. And you'd be amazed how much it works out if you put effort into it. In the age of the internet and Facebook and comment sections, people are like, there's no fucking way. Like, you're just bashing your head against a wall. If you're talking to a conservative who's been a hardcore conservative his whole life, he's not just going to talk to you one day and then decide he's not a hardcore conservative. Or if you're talking to an extremist liberal who, wants to fucking corral everybody up and reinstate communism, there's no way that by talking to you, they're going to come down to a point where they're like, okay, well, maybe not communism, but still, I'm a liberal,
Socialism, then. Socialism.
And not that if you hold those ideas yourself and you're listening, I'm not saying that you're an inherently bad person or that those are inherently bad ideas, because I've read thoroughly on communism and I've seen what a lot of Republicans have to say, and from the perspectives that those people are looking at them from, they make sense, and they're sometimes coming from a good place. I just think that, if those people sat down and really thought about it and looked at it, their perspective might change. Or maybe by talking to them, my perspective might change on something.
Commie.
Hey, I'm not ruling anything out because the current system fucking blows.
I will completely agree with that. But
Like,
I
I
don't know
don't
that
fault-
communism is the answer.
I'll give both my stances, right and left, from what I've understood, having friends that are both right and left. We'll start with the left side because I feel like we harp on right wing ideals a lot more than we do left wing ideals.
Well, they're the controlling party right now, so they're the ones kind of pissing us off the most.
We're Green Day in the 90s. Like, did you ever notice, by the way, side note here, did you ever notice how much music starts to suck and become just so poppy when Democrats are in control? Like, when Republicans are in control, music seems to have fucking content to it. They're giving the middle finger to the man. They're
don't know.
they're running around and fucking trashing venues and just being rock stars.
Is that happening now? Do you have examples? Because
It's coming up. Like, we haven't been in it long enough, but think about 8 years of Bush. You had fucking Green Day, My Chemical Romance, Sum 41. I mean, just the bands, whether you agree that they were good musically or not, look at their content and what was popular, what was being sung about was all just like fucking...
What if that was just coincidental, though?
I don't think it was, because when was the other time that you had really crazy poppy, or not poppy, but crazy grungy music scenes where everything was about fuck the man? Reagan.
Well,
Reagan inspired a
before then,
generation of fuck the man music.
That makes sense.
And before that, LBJ inspired a generation of fucking hippies and their music. Look at it, man. Like, if you trace music history along with presidential elections, it tends to be when conservatives are in power that we get good fucking music. And then when Democrats are in power, like Bill Clinton, you had Red Hot Chili Peppers were objectively great.
Yeah.
Did they come around in Bill Clinton's time, or was that pre?
They were there. They were there.
They were
like,
Bush 1, weren't they?
Bush 1 all the way through to like now. I
Yeah,
think. I don't
they're
know.
still going, yeah.
Are they still putting out
So
content?
fuck it. A Bush presidency gave us the Red Hot Chili Peppers. What did Bill Clinton's presidency bring out? Green Day came out during Bill Clinton's era.
No, they were before then, weren't they? They've been around for a
Were they
long
Bush
time,
1 as well?
dude.
They were in the 80s, late 80s.
Then that would be.
Bush 1.
Yeah.
Say fuck it. I'm telling you, my theory is fucking concrete here, man. Find me an example of a great band that came out in Bill Clinton's presidency that you can point to and be like, their music was solely about fuck the man.
Well, that doesn't necessarily connotate good music. You
No,
can
but
can say that and be good music.
Yeah, you can,
But
and you
it's not
cannot be saying
inherently
that.
so.
I'm just saying that there is a relation between conservative power and people saying "fuck the man" and good music.
I'm going to do presidents between 1985 and 2000. Let's see what we come up with. And that'll work. 89 to now. Holy crap. George H.W. is 91 years old now.
Yeah, he's old as shit, man.
No kidding. Okay. So he was president from 1989 to 1993. Clinton was president from 93 to 2001. I guess because I was a kid. You know, I was 2 when that happened. I didn't realize that it was from 93 to that long. I don't know.
Either way, conservative presidents correlate their terms of office with good punk rock music, or just grunge music in general. Anything else?
Do those things necessarily have a correlation, though? I mean, as far as musical content goes, like, I mean, it seems like there's a fuck the man principle. I'll give you that, or peace and love when it comes to, LBJ and fuck Reagan. So that part makes sense, but
LBJ, Reagan, and then the 2 Bushes.
right, exactly. Kind of seems like it could be possible, like that Republicans have a tendency to send us into a war that we have no business being in, like Vietnam. No one really understood why we were there, so they were really pissed off about it, and that inspired the peace and love movement. And fuck LBJ, and then we moved forward to Reagan. I don't think they were really the war on drugs.
Yeah.
The war on drugs, fuck
war
that.
that's
That is
still
still
fucking
going
going.
and has not worked at all. Made everything worse. And then we've got Desert Storm with HW, and then we've got Iraq, Afghanistan, and probably a handful of other countries that I don't know about that we occupied. I'm sure we were in like Pakistan and places like that.
Well, we're not going to settle it here just because we don't have the resources to settle it here or the time. But to our dear listeners, I would encourage you all, you've heard both sides of that. go and find yourself all the bands that you've listened to and compare the quality of bands released under conservative leadership in the Oval Office, and obviously the Congress and Senate, all that stuff changes around more frequently, but
Indeed.
specifically when conservatives were in power in the nation, look up bands that came out during their reigns.
With a specific message, because I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Because there were good bands all intermittently through there.
It is, but what, like, let me extend it even, like, since we're just having a conversation. I mean, it doesn't matter, but...
Well, I mean, passion begets good music. And
that's what I'm
being
saying.
Evoked. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, artists tend to be more passionate when they feel threatened.
Or when they have something to rail against.
Yeah, and that energy, like...
Or angst, if you will.
Yeah, I'm having trouble now, and I'm not a music historian at all, of course, but that's why this is nonsense. But think of a good band, like, just off the top of your head, try to think of a good, solid band that came out between 93 and 2001 that started in that time frame.
Pearl Jam? When did Pearl Jam start?
I'm pretty sure that was late 80s.
Maybe. I don't
It might have
really
been
know
90s.
I know they were big in the 90s, but
Let
I
me
don't know exactly
Google
when they
it.
started.
Sorry for the listeners. You may hear typing that I'm not going to bother editing out. But I'm going to Google, any band you give me, I'll just Google
Okay.
them and see when they came out. Pearl Jam?
Yeah, those are really good. Collective Soul's also really good.
I used to like Collective Soul. I kind of came off of them, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a good listen every now and then. I won't drive it into the ground, but I'll come back to it.
See, I tend to listen to music and drive it into the ground. By the way, we have a playlist on Spotify. Jared's got to get his done, but he'll get it done soon. If you want to go over to Spotify and search for Let's Talk Nonsense, hopefully we'll be broadcasting out to Spotify soon. But even if we're not, you can find Let's Talk Nonsense on Spotify, and you can listen to our playlist there. And why I say that is, Pearl Jam came out in 1990, so that was still technically Bush era.
Okay.
Anyway, on my playlist, I was saying I drive songs into the ground. If you check out my playlist over there, it's all good shit, but nothing that came out in the last 5 years. Like it's all just shit I've been listening to since fucking 5th grade.
But I will point
ago.
out that Pearl Jam never really did anything that was inherently fuck the man, and we both loved them.
I loved Pearl Jam.
I do too.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. Like, even the bands that weren't fuck the man tended to be better in the conservative era.
They were influenced by, other musicians around them. There was Soundgarden, there was Nirvana,
Right. So let's keep playing our game. What bands came out in a Democrat-ran country that are awesome?
Well, those still kept going aside from Nirvana for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm a big fan of 90s music. Typically earlier 90s, though.
Mm-hmm. I know you are. That's why you're the perfect person to have this talk with.
Bare Naked Ladies are really good.
All right, let's see when they came out. I'm pretty sure they are 90s, actually.
I'm positive they came out in the 90s. And I'm also going to say it because I'm not ashamed. I like listening to the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC just because, I don't know, it's nostalgic for me.
They were awesome in that era. Like, nowadays, I wouldn't listen to that music and be like, oh, that's cool. But because I'm nostalgic for it.
Yeah, it's not cool at all. Watch the music videos. They're lame as fuck. But I still like listening to the songs. I like the harmonies. I can't help it.
Bare Naked Ladies. That's not what I wanted. I had to click a link on this one. Pearl Jam's famous enough that they just had a Google bio. Oh, shit.
Sense.
Oh, shit. You're going to be upset.
What's up?
Take a guess on what year they came out.
89.
88.
88.
Bush era. So let's.
Interesting.
We're still going. We're still trying to find a band.
Still not a fuck the man band.
No, but still out in a conservative fucking.
All right, let's see. Matchbox 20.
All right.
I'm a big fan of Matchbox 20.
If they came out in the fucking 80s, I might go hang myself.
Let's not do that.
Matchbox 20.
I do have particularly strong rafters in my house, though, just saying.
I was watching the show. The Man in the Iron Mask. Spoilers, and for any of you Leo DiCaprio fans who haven't watched a almost 20-year-old movie, but
it is old.
It came out the year after Titanic. That's fucking old. But
wait, didn't Titanic come out in like 99? So it would be 2000 when that came out or something like that?
A year after, so it'd have been like 2000. Actually, I think Titanic came out in 98, and this movie came out in 99. But anyway, Man in the Iron Mask.
Which, before he says this, I'm going to say this. I watched that movie growing up, and I loved it.
It's fucking hilarious as an adult. I also
I haven't watched it in a long time. I'll say that.
I was also into it as a kid, but as an adult, it's just a fucking joke.
D'Artagnan.
It's not Leo. He's great.
Leo
it's just,
is great.
You can tell from the set and the other actors, other than Hugh Laurie, who they killed off fairly quickly.
Hey, Jeremy Irons is a good actor.
Maybe now in that movie,
What do you
man.
mean maybe now? Jeremy Irons is a good actor.
In that movie, there were no good actors except for Leonardo
Well,
DiCaprio.
you also got to chalk it up to like script and dialogue and things that the actors can't necessarily control.
I blame the director, if anyone,
Well, see,
besides
there
the
you go.
actors, because the actors, you can't see this listening along, but the actors,
Is it really deadpan delivery? Like look at the camera.
yeah, they like stare into the camera and deliver a line that's clearly them talking to someone like 3 feet to their left. Like you can
Wait,
see
they're
that.
looking away from the person they're talking to. And,
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Maybe it was just like a precursor to The Office. They they pioneered what The Office did.
I don't know, but in that movie, fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say now. Fuck, what were we talking about?
The Man in the Iron Mask.
I know that, but what were we talking about before that?
Oh, you were saying that you could tell, by the other actors around something. And I made the argument that,
You could tell by the other actors that they blew their entire budget on hiring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, I mean, he sold the movie. If anybody went and saw that movie, it was because of Leo.
That's what they were counting on.
Exactly.
They literally just
Probably
went, hey,
worked.
we can make a shit movie. We could get a shit director.
Do a IMDb or something and see what the rating is on the movie. I'm curious.
If it's above 5, I'll be fucking amazed. But what I was saying with that is that, fuck, I forget where I was going now. I just remembered it right in the middle of us talking, and then I forgot it again.
You bastard.
Oh, talking about hanging myself.
That was out of left field.
The in that movie, there's a priest, a Jesuit priest, and he's got a buddy that was a musketeer with him. And the musketeer's like, he just got done trying to fuck a few girls and couldn't pull it off.
He was too drunk and he's old, and that's why he couldn't do it.
And so anyway, he just started walking butt-ass naked towards the barn, and he's going to hang himself. And he, like, walks in, and there's a rope with a noose tied on it, tied up to the banister. And he's like, must be a sign from God. And he, like, slips it around his neck and tries to hang himself. And then it pans out, one of the only good directing decisions in that movie, it pans out to where the Jesuit priest and the other guy are standing. And the Jesuit priest is... like, they saw him walking in there, and he just had this nonchalant attitude about it, like, yeah, whatever. And then you see the barn fucking collapse in on itself.
Well, I think he cut that rafter, didn't he?
He
cut
did.
the beam.
Yeah, he cut the rafter knowing that the dude was going to do it.
Which is just fucking funny. Could you imagine how shitty you would feel if you tried to kill yourself and you could not? Like, because he didn't know the beam was cut. He just thought he was too damn fat, probably.
Man in the Iron Mask came out in 1998, by the way.
Okay.
Which means Titanic must have come out in
97?
97.
Damn. You know, that actually makes sense, because I remember...
It was before we knew Monica Lewinsky blew Bill Clinton.
Yeah. I remember where I lived when it came out, and that makes sense. I think I was in, like, first grade or kindergarten one, so that makes sense.
The IMDb score is 6.5 out of 10. But I don't go off IMDb, so I'm also going to look up.
Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, they lead me wrong like 90% less than any other site.
Interesting.
Because they have their site score, where you can see just your normal, like what their critics thought of it. But then they also have a public score where all their users come on and can type out what they thought about it.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, those things are opposite. And I just go off the audience score because I tend to agree with the masses of people on what a good movie is.
Oh, yeah, groupthink mob mentality. That'll lead you down the right path. No, I try to split a difference because sometimes critics are just douches and they like rip a movie apart for no reason.
I never trust critics.
I do sometimes.
You know how much expertise it takes to be a good movie critic?
Just watching a movie, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
They just walk in and they fucking watch it, and it's one person, and their view
opinion.
is so fucking skewed based on their own personal. But if you get a collective, if you get a collective of people who enjoy watching movies enough to go type about it on the internet, most of them
aren't getting paid for it.
Yeah, it'll be broad enough of a spectrum of people's personal taste that I can go, okay, well, if 30 of 50 people on the site that cared enough to come type about it did not like it, I probably won't either. And I still end up watching shit just out of
I was
curiosity.
going to say curiosity, and also like I try to split the difference.
So see, here's another one. You'll be happy with this one. The tomato meter, which is their
There's a scorecard or whatever. Yeah.
their scorecard gives it 32%. Their scorecard gives it 32%, which is rotten.
That's out of 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the audience score gives it 55%, with the average rating being 3.1 out of 5. So even on the high end,
That's not too bad. I
well,
mean,
what's confusing? All right, so the audience score is 55% liked it. Average score rating 3.1 out of 5. User ratings 318,000 people.
Oh, wow. Quite a
Then-
base to pull from.
Yeah, and then the critics average rating 5.5 out of 10, but then their total is only 33%.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
But they only had 12 fresh votes and 25 rotten votes out of the critics, and there's a total of 37 critics. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have 318,000 people
Yeah.
versus 37 fucking people.
No, I'm with you. I
I'll
mean,
take
I
the
get
bigger
it.
aggregate, just data collection at that point.
Fair enough. I still like to split the difference. Like, if critics are going wild about it, maybe it's all right. If audiences are going wild about it, I'm probably going to like it. So it's, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of with you as far as the.
Speaking of which,
Numbers
and
go.
this is a bigger spoiler alert, if you have not seen The Last Jedi yet, maybe tune out now. We'll give you no seconds to do that. So, what did you think about The Last Jedi, man?
I liked it, but some of the directions they took I didn't like. I feel like, spoiler here, so tune out if you haven't already.
Yeah, that's your last warning, you fuckers.
Exactly. I feel like they messed up by killing Snoke.
Fuck yeah, they did.
I was really looking forward to seeing a battle between him and Luke Skywalker, because I feel like that would be fucking epic. But they fell into the same trap that they did with the last movie. They copied A New Hope too much. They copied Return of the Jedi too much in this one, I feel like, as far as how the Emperor died and how Snoke died. He was betrayed by his apprentice because he wasn't on guard at all. He was too caught up in what was going on, focusing on the main protagonist, just like the Emperor was focusing on Luke. Snoke was focusing on Rey. And, I mean, it's inherently in the Sith nature, and I know Snoke wasn't a Sith, but he studied them, and he understood how Dark Jedi behave. He had to have been looking out for betrayal, or he was fucking stupid. In some way, I mean, at least be on your guard.
They fucked so... Not they. The director. I blame the director wholeheartedly because...
Well, I mean, he's the one deciding the direction the movie goes in.
Yeah, and he fucked so much possibility.
By
And-
killing him, I feel like.
People are pissed about Luke, too.
That's why I was coming to.
I'm not that mad about Luke, but with Snoke, you fucked the pooch, buddy. Like,
I think he fucked the pooch with Luke, too, pal.
I
That
don't
didn't
know.
even seem like Luke.
But it shouldn't. Luke was transformed to the point that he had almost killed a kid. Like, he whipped his lightsaber out ready to kill his
That's
nephew.
very true.
That is
I'll give you
also
that.
not Luke.
That's
And-
very true.
and-
That's what I'm saying. The whole direction they took Luke in was fucked, I feel
But
like.
imagine what they could do. You know, Luke is foreseeably a Force ghost now. Imagine the direction they could go now. When Luke becomes one with the Force, he's a Force ghost. He kind of steps back from the mundane world and realizes, oh shit, Rey took those books out of the temple and all this shit. And he can reflect on it. And then Rey has a moment of crisis where she's just about to snap and turn to the dark. And he can come in and be like,
breaks in.
listen, when you met me, was I a good person? And she can be like, no, objectively you weren't. You just sat there on your ass while everything was going to shit.
Yeah.
And he can be like, do you know why? The dark side, and they can introduce this whole new thing about the dark side where, yeah, when the Jedi were in power, the dark side was fear and anger and all those things, and they all led to the dark side, and you had to be careful. Luke can be like, you know, I watched Kylo Ren, who was just naturally drawn to the dark side. I stepped up to the point where I wanted to kill him, and that broke something inside of me. And when I failed at that, I ran away and hid from the world and shut myself off from the Force because I was too afraid. And like in my case, the fear didn't.
Fear leads to anger.
Yeah, he was like, you know, in my case, fear didn't necessarily lead to the dark side. Fear led to me not participating at all. It shut me
apathy.
down, and they can speak from that point.
That's true.
With
That is
Snoke,
a direction.
With Snoke, there's
They
nowhere
just
to
ended
fucking
it.
go.
Yeah, and I hate that because they made it so mysterious in the first one. Like, I felt like it was just a giant middle finger.
J.J. Abrams did an excellent fucking job of building tension, and
Yeah.
then what's his fuck just did not fucking deliver.
Well, did J.J. Abrams just not want to do this one or what? Because I felt like he did a pretty good job with the first one, and I would have felt like he would have done a better job with this one
He would have
also.
done a much better job.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand that part.
I think the way they originally intended it was to have 3 different directors, but from what I understand,
Why do that? I don't understand the point in doing that.
because that's what George Lucas did.
Yeah, but-
Empire was directed by a totally different guy, and
True, and that's fair, but I mean, still, at least keep somebody there that's... George Lucas was always there.
yeah,
And in the first, well, technically 4, 5, and 6, it was the original first 3. His wife was also an editor there. So she kept him from doing anything really stupid
Like
like
the
he did in...
prequels?
That's what I was getting to, just like the prequels.
I hate sand. It's so
coarse
coarse
and gets everywhere.
in my vagina.
And also, I'm going to say this too. I think Hayden Christensen gets a really bad rap. I feel
Great
like
actor.
that's what I'm saying. He's a good actor, and I feel like he did the best he could have
Beer me, bro.
with really shitty dialogue. Because, I mean,
Thanks, buddy.
you can only do so much with what you're given. I mean,
It could have been worse.
it
Have you ever seen the interview with Mark Hamill on Letterman during the first releases of Star Wars when he talked about he literally begged George Lucas to take lines of his dialogue out?
I think I have, but I don't remember specific details.
I can't either. I know that him taking that line out killed off like 2 full planets that were originally going to be in the trilogy that was taken out because they were only in existence because of that one line. But it was like Luke, farm boy, still hasn't blown up the first Death Star, riding in the Millennium Falcon, and he spouts off like this military tactician shit. Like,
This doesn't make
like,
sense.
we can't do that. These people, blah, 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 their base defense systems, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, you wouldn't fucking
You don't know that.
And Mark Hamill, when he was on Letterman or whatever, he was saying, like, I stayed up at night dreaming that those lines were going to ruin the whole movie.
Well, good call, Mark Hamill. I mean,
Yeah, the problem is, in the prequels, Hayden Christensen's just,
He was
no
a
fault
kid.
of his own. He was a
No.
kid. But he just didn't have the balls Mark Hamill did and the acting
guess
chops
not.
to be like, hey, fuck you, we're not doing this.
and also read on the prequels, George Lucas more or less surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men
Oh, yeah.
who would do whatever he said because he was who he was, and he was a legend, and he deserved that legendary status. But he also made some pretty damn horrible writing and direction calls, I feel like.
George Lucas.
Luker.
George Lucas. Let me tell you something about that George Lucas feller, all right?
He's an asshole.
No, George Lucas deserves any fame he gets. I mean,
He was a legend, really. He changed modern culture.
he changed, well, not just culture, like in a more focused in way. He changed cinema. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
he did
You're right.
something. Do you ever? I forget what they were called, but they used to do these things in movie theaters a long time ago.
Blowjobs.
Before we were born. No, they still do those. Trust me. Just got to know how to talk.
Oh, man.
No. They used to do these things in movie theaters before TV was so big, where they would show little short independent films on the weekends. Like, you could just come in and pay so much money like during the day on the weekends, and you just watch this little 30, 45-minute thing, and it's always a really underdeveloped plot, but it left it on cliffhanger so you could come back next week and all this stuff.
Come back next week. I like how you said that.
And George Lucas, I watched one of the special features on Empire. George Lucas is doing the audio commentary, and I've watched all the audio commentaries. By the way, fans of Let's Talk Nonsense, if you ever need to talk Star Wars, I'm
He's your
fucking
guy.
here.
Yeah. He knows
between-
more than I do.
George Lucas talked about how he modeled. Oh, I don't need these updates popping up during the show. Sorry.
You're cool, bro. Do you have to pee by any chance?
No, we can go smoke in a second though.
Cool, because I have to pee. I can wait till we smoke, though.
Oh, fuck. Now I'm drawing a blank because I'm doing like 5 other things. What's the first of the original 3?
The New Hope.
Okay, I knew that. I just couldn't fucking think of the words.
I would pause and get that figured out. While you're getting that figured out, I want to pee.
No, but in A New Hope, George Lucas, you don't have to put headphones on, but in A New Hope, George Lucas modeled the movies originally after those things, and all the studios would not fucking touch it because they were like, this is crap cinema. This is not what we're doing. This is not how we do cinema. This is not a movie. We're not paying for it. So he
made it himself.
He rolled on with it, and it fucking worked.
It did. He almost went bankrupt, by the way. Did you know that?
Yep.
Like, he almost broke himself making A New Hope.
Which brings up my favorite director, Kevin Smith. We'll talk about him right after this short break. Please stand by. The members of Let's Talk Nonsense podcast are currently pissing, shitting, and or getting more beer. All right, well, we're back. Sorry about that. We were actually smoking. That fucking Nigel, he just loves to make the wrong announcements.
He does. He's an asshole. And also, we did get more beer, so we are settled in and ready to go.
It's weird how much that papier-mâché skeleton sounds just like me.
Yeah, he's a ventriloquist for sure. Like, he's not anywhere near the mic either. He threw his voice from like 3 or 4 feet away.
Like, let's try this. Nigel, make your best Jared impression. I'll pass you the mic.
Yeah, my name is Jared. I'm a narcissistic asshole, and I hate myself and everyone else.
Wow, Nigel, holy shit.
It's pretty on point, isn't it?
He's an abusive fucking drunk.
He is an asshole, and he's always drunk, so he's just a dick all the time.
We're drunk too. We can't judge him. We're also assholes. What were we talking about before the break there, buddy?
I'm pretty sure we were discussing Star Wars.
Star Wars. I'm talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, let's never do that again.
Yeah, all the other episodes we talk about Star Wars, I'm sure that'll be a problem. But anyway. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where we left off, but I know that George Lucas... he changed cinematography. Like, the way he set up scenes and the way he handled... It's just space opera. It's not even really sci-fi. Like, he wasn't going for a sci-fi theme, and you can tell that because, like, the way it moves along. And today, us watching A New Hope, we're like, man, this movie moves kind of slow. I can't wait to get to Empire because we know how fucking great Empire is.
Oh, yeah, Empire is fantastic.
But for that day and age... audiences, you can go back and look at like reviews and critics and things back then. They were talking about how fucking fast paced it was. They were not used to that in cinema. And the way he treated the sci-fi concept, because he wasn't focusing on it as a sci-fi story.
He was just telling a story in a sci-fi universe.
Yeah. One of the things I hate so much about modern day cinema, and one of the things I love about Mystery Science Theater ripping apart old cinema right before Star Wars and shit like that, was that exposition is handled so fucking poorly. Like Man in the Iron Mask, they handle exposition like shit. It's just, that's what I'm talking about with the lines where they just look at the camera and they're clearly talking to the fucking audience, even though in the movie they're talking to a dude 3 feet to their left. They're not fucking looking at him. They're looking down, but it's still like at the camera.
Perhaps they're just like staring off into space and pontificating, like making an announcement.
They're pontificating about things like, I once had a brother. And it's like, who the fuck does that? In reality,
well, I don't know. Someone who has a brother.
Yeah, but no one's like in Man in the Iron Mask. The guy's son. Again, spoilers, but this movie's so old, I don't really give a fuck if you haven't seen it. You're gonna get it spoiled.
Right.
In Man in the Iron Mask, the dude's son gets killed because the king has the hots for his bitch,
and he sends him off to the front lines of the war and gets him killed intentionally. Sounds like kind of a David-esque type deal. I never thought about that. But
by the way, I use the term his bitch solely for comedic purposes, not that I would ever call a woman his bitch, unless that was a female dog. And
yeah, I technically have a female dog, so I guess she would be.
That is his bitch.
Yeah.
But anyway, the king has the hots for his woman, and he sends him off to the front lines to die. Classic David and what was it? David and I don't remember what his lover's name was. Anyway,
I don't either.
Bathsheba.
Yeah, bathing on the roof.
Yeah. Bathsheba is how I remembered that, by the way.
Hey, nice.
She was in the bath when he saw her.
Nice.
Anyway, David and Bathsheba, clone of a story there. And then, by the way, great effort to the writers of Man in the Iron Mask. Anyway, so the one dude who was basically like me and you, the dude's father was previously a musketeer.
Right.
And like his best friend from those days comes in the door to talk to him, and he starts pontificating off into space about how he has a son and that guy was his son, and it's exposition from a writer's standpoint. As someone who has halfway written many novels, that's exposition. It's just clearly there for the audience to figure out the story.
The storyline, right. And I will say this, like even as a kid, the character you're talking about, whose name I cannot remember, the father of the son
Yeah.
who the king sent off to die. I didn't like his acting then. I
That's
don't.
terrible.
I don't
As
think
an
he was a
adult,
good
you're
actor.
gonna fucking loathe him.
I'm sure. Like even then, I was like, okay, that's a little bit canned there,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
Kind of forced.
Oh yeah. Oh, just wait till near the end of the movie when they're all like at the river getting ready and they're fucking talking. Dude, it is some of the cheesiest fucking shit. Anyway, my point is George Lucas didn't do that. You know, you drop in A New Hope. You drop in on Tatooine from the perspective of droids. The first 20 minutes of that movie is about robots, and there is no exposition. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's just George Lucas did not waste his time on exposition. You're just in the story.
Well, he did a good job of developing the story as you go, so that you're engrossed, wanting to know what happens instead of it being forced. Like
Yeah.
two people standing there talking about things they wouldn't.
Like
to
he
explain things.
If George Lucas had done it as either a modern or at the time just regular cinematographer did it, he would have been like when Luke drank the blue milk. It would have been like, drink up your blue milk, son. That came from the cows of Oz-7, and I had to
Right.
work my just fucking needless exposition. I hate, and I love that George Lucas didn't do that until the prequels.
Indeed. And also, I want to point out that when you talked about the blue milk, it made me think about the milk that Luke drank from that giant weird fucking creature in The Last Jedi. That was gross, dude. That was nasty.
See, that's another case of I didn't even think about that scene from that movie, but see where George Lucas skipped over needless exposition.
That was there for
That-
no damn reason
that
other than to
director-
just make the audience go, ugh.
That director focused on needless exposition
Ugh.
and ruined a perfectly. We were all cool with blue milk, man. It was a meme. It's in that song, that parody song.
Well,
that
the
they
milk
did.
wasn't blue then. It was white, I'm pretty sure.
No,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm getting sick of drinking blue milk. That's in that song. And
Yeah,
they
but
show
that's
him
the-
drinking blue milk.
That's the old one though.
That's
like-
A New Hope.
Yeah, it was blue milk there. I'm not arguing
I'm
that
saying.
point. I'm talking about the nasty giant weird lizard cow thing.
In The Last
milk,
Jedi.
Yeah, that milk wasn't blue. It looked like pus or something. It was gross, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't white. It was.
It would look like yellow. Like maybe
pretty
an
sure.
off-white.
Let me look it up, but I'm pretty sure that was blue milk, and I'm pretty sure that I remember that because I was like, you just dismantled
Blue milk.
something that was perfectly accepted in culture, the Star Wars culture especially. They were just like, it's blue milk. No one ever fucking asked
No.
where it came from.
we
We
didn't
didn't
care.
care. And then you showed us, and it was the grossest fucking way,
That
other
was
than having
gross.
him lay down and suck the actual teat.
He might have done that to begin with when he first got there, depending on how thirsty he was. You know, survival and all.
Yeah. Let's see. The bizarre milk scene. Yeah, it's blue milk.
Was it blue?
Let me make double sure. Let me just go to videos
Okay.
and I'll look at it and tell you. But most of the articles are like Star Wars effects master shares secret of blue milk scene in Last Jedi and things like that.
Interesting. I don't recall it being blue. It seemed like it was.
Yeah, it's what is the blue milk monster? Star Wars blue milk, Star Wars Last Jedi blue milk episode 9.
Man,
Like
perhaps I'm colorblind. Who knows? but-
even if it wasn't blue itself, my point is here, just from the article headlines,
Yeah.
that's what we're all thinking about when they did that scene. Everybody that was aware of like the blue milk meme and all that shit were like, "Oh, you just ruined blue milk for everyone."
It was so
Fuck
nasty
you.
looking.
Like this director in
Ugh.
general, just fuck him.
Do you
Like-
feel that same excitement now coming back to it after all
Oh
these
my gosh!
years?
You know, if you ever had the experience of like taking out a pair of old trousers that you haven't worn in 10, 15 years and you discover a 10-pound note or whatever, you go, oh wow, that's more valuable than the money in your wallet because you didn't know you had it. That's the feeling here. So I couldn't believe my ears. I said, really? They want us back? I mean, I said, well, it's got to be all of us or none of us. You know, it's like the reunion of a band, you know. Because if I had said no at that point, I'd be the most hated man in nerddom.
We have to talk about, unfortunately, Carrie Fisher, but I know you have many joyful memories
Yeah.
of Carrie.
What is this? What are we
and
listening to?
I guess this does make it a little...
Mark
bittersweet.
Hamill talking to somebody.
Yeah, and
No,
Daisy Ridley.
No,
blown away. It
That
was
wasn't Ray?
incredible.
Your character got so popular in the last
That
one.
lady?
You have a
No,
real
that's the
journey with
interviewer.
this
She
as
is a
well.
Oh,
Can you just
apparently
maybe what
50-year-old,
happened?
slightly overweight British woman.
Okay, I just heard the accent and it sounds kind of like Ray.
Weight of
Well, I can't find that shit. That was a waste of time. But to add on,
Let's talk nonsense.
to add on to all the other bullshit that this director fucked up, the entire story was fucking pointless. The only point for any of the story was for Rey to end up where she ended up. That was it. Like, other than that, if Rey had just had any, and that could have, by the way, any story could have delivered her to the location she ended up at. Let's talk about the plot points here. The side story with Finn and his new girlfriend. Cool, like it, glad that they're on the screen. Wish they had a better fucking story to be on the screen with, because everything they did.
I really like Finn. I think John Boyega or something like that. I think he does a good job playing that character.
But from a story perspective, nothing they did moved the story forward.
No, not at all. It was pointless.
And at the end of their story, nothing they did even impacted anything in any way, other than getting a lot of rebels killed. But that, again, could have happened for any other reason.
Yeah, right.
And then the Poe Dameron part of the story, first of all, they made him into an asshole. Like, he wasn't a hero at all. He committed mutiny, and then
Pretty
you come
much,
to find out he was an idiot for committing mutiny, and he got knocked out and spent the last act of the movie just fucking either knocked out or in prison. Like, there's no point for his story, and they could have.
I really liked his character, by the way.
They could have had a badass story for that character.
Yeah, he was a great character.
And they had Leia die just so they could show her force pulling herself back to the ship, which pissed off a lot of the fan base, myself included.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? How is she capable of that? Like, she has no training that we've seen. I mean, maybe something behind the scenes, but, harkening back to exposition, at least give us something to explain that crap, because as soon as it happened, I was like, what the fuck? No, she can't do that.
You can't ignore exposition when exposition's already there, and we had exposition throughout the entire saga and through the books, which I've read, the trilogy, the Aftermath trilogy, where Leia does have force powers, and that's accepted. That was already accepted.
Is it canon, though? Is it still canon?
That's the Aftermath series is Disney produced.
Okay.
So it's canon.
Then why was that not mentioned before this movie?
I know. Well, she had force powers according to the new canon. Big spoiler here. I don't expect that a lot of people have read these books yet, but big spoiler on the Aftermath series of books and novels. In that one, it talks about Leia and Bloodlines. That's another Star Wars book that came out and is canon that I've read. It talks about Leia having force powers very fucking faintly. Like, she had the ability to sense Luke alone, nobody else.
Right.
And that was only when he was nearby. Like, once he went missing, in the Aftermath series and Bloodlines, she didn't know where he was. She couldn't feel him. She couldn't even feel her own son through the Force.
Well, Luke disconnected himself from the Force, and also, the series, or saga rather, like when Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking to Yoda, and he was like, "He's our only hope," and Yoda goes, "No, there is another." It hints around that she's Force sensitive, but there's no training mentioned ever. Nothing to develop her powers to the point where she can pull herself through space and not die in a fucking vacuum. Like, what the hell?
I don't mean to burst your bubble here, and I know you don't realize this because you're not as well versed in the universe as me.
Well, I'm not reading. I haven't read the books, is what I'm saying.
I know you're not as smart as me, but
yeah, bullshit.
I am 99.5% sure that the other that Yoda was talking about was Ahsoka Tano, which would have been so fucking cool to see.
But she didn't even exist as a character at that point.
Yes, she did.
When Yoda was talking about...
There's another, yeah.
How did that character exist? Had George Lucas written that? I thought she came about in the Clone Wars, series.
She was Anakin spoilers. She was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. That character didn't exist at that point. Well, if you'll let me
finish, I will finish telling you how she fucking existed. You dick.
Well, get to the point, asshole.
I'm trying. You just asked me the question. I had one sentence out. Ahsoka Tano was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan up until the point that Barriss Offee committed treason against the Jedi Order and the Republic. When Barriss Offee committed that treason, the Jedi Order and the Republic suspected Ahsoka had something to do with it. They locked her up. Obi-Wan and Anakin went to them and tried to get her out of prison. And by the way, it was General Tarkin's first appearance, or Admiral Tarkin at the time's first appearance in the Star Wars canon. He was the Republic officer that arrested her. Anakin and Tarkin had some very deep animosity towards each other because of that. Ahsoka ended up breaking out, making herself look even more guilty, getting accused of treason, and she was actually on trial in the Senate before, at the time, Chancellor Palpatine, Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan were all in the crowd watching her trial. She was just about to be found guilty, and Anakin had, like, done what Anakin did back when he was a good guy and, like, fucking went and investigated it himself, found Barriss Offee and drug her, like, right before they pronounced Ahsoka guilty. He came in dragging her with a Jedi guard, dragging her into the trial room, and was like, she did it, she's ready to admit. Barriss Offee admitted to it. The Jedi, of course, had expelled Ahsoka. So
Right.
Ahsoka, they apologized to her. They granted her the rank of knight, and they said, you know, welcome back to the order. And she said no.
She became a gray Jedi, right?
Not then. Not at that moment. She just left.
Eventually she did.
She left. She ends up fighting Darth Maul on Mandalore.
It's
and-
like re-put together herself or whatever.
Yeah, his half robotic self. She fought, and I want to say defeated Darth Maul on Mandalore and got the black saber, which was shown in Rogue One. They scrolled over the I forget what they called it. It was the code word for it, but it was the code word for the black saber, which was the first Mandalorian to ever become a Jedi. Forged a vibroblade and infused it with dark force powers eventually, and it was the dark saber. Anyway. Later on in Rebels, Ahsoka helps the rebels out and is a commander in the rebel army, as well as an active Jedi. And there's actually a book on Ahsoka Tano that I've also read, where she flees off to a planet and helps fight the Empire. She has a duel with Darth Vader, who recognizes her, and she recognizes that he's Anakin through
She would know.
the Force.
Yeah.
And talks about him, and then decides like Anakin's actually dead. She did what Luke didn't and gave up hope of him ever returning. At the end of their duel, it's very open for debate, but at the end of their duel, which would have been about the time that Luke was growing pubes, the rebels ran out and left her and got to the ship, and you just see, at the end of it, you just see Darth Vader walking out. But you never see
Her die or anything like
her
that.
die, and knowing Anakin, if there was literally anything left of Anakin, the one person he would refuse to kill that hadn't wronged him in any way. Now Obi-Wan, he would kill, because Obi-Wan's the one that made him disfigured and maimed. But Ahsoka never did anything to Anakin.
Right. And we've talked about all these things before. And the argument I was making is that when A New Hope, it was A New Hope, was it not? That the what we're talking about, the scene where
No, that's
is that Empire? Okay, all right. When Empire, my bad. Ahsoka had never been thought about when that movie was made, as far as we know. She was a character created when the Clone Wars cartoon series came out on Cartoon Network in what, the 2000s?
as a
So my argument was that when that plot line was created, it could not have been her.
you underestimate how much George Lucas has written.
He planned ahead, and I know that, and he did write a lot. But what I'm saying is that it was inherently implied that it was Leia. Now, retroactively, he could have made that decision or whatever, but I don't think he planned that far ahead.
I don't think, because by Empire, it wasn't necessarily fully fleshed out that Leia was Luke's sister, so there was no reason that she would be the other either.
It was an Empire, was it not? That was decided.
No, that was in
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. At the end of Return of the Jedi,
Seems like they found it out before then.
Leia told Han on the Ewoks planet that
Which it would be Return of the Jedi, but it seems like they knew it before then.
she found out the same movie that she told Han. Because remember, there was that whole thing that was after she found out. It was in the same movie. After she found out that Luke was her brother,
She regretted that kiss.
she regretted both kisses. She actually kisses him twice in those movies.
Cheek and mouth.
When he's laying it, like when he's all hurt and everything, and she kisses him. But yeah, man, I'm pretty sure, because she finds out, and then after she finds out, of course, there's that bond between them, and Han picks up on that bond being there and starts being like afraid, like threatened by Luke, you know, and they're in a romantic way threatened by Luke. And then by the end of the movie, it's built to that beautiful point of tension where he's like, all right, screw it. You know, I know you're in love with him. And then she's like, no, he's my brother.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I like the original trilogies. It's been a while. I went through them recently, but
I have
this
not.
were
It's been a
fucked
while
up.
since I've watched them all, so I will say that. But it's just a little bit of a stretch to me.
One thing I know for sure that happened, which was what makes me think that it could have been Ahsoka Tano. Obviously, the name wasn't there and the character's design wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying.
But I just feel like Ahsoka Tano, when George Lucas went back and made the Clone Wars, he made that character to fit that role. And I think
Which
when
is
he,
entirely possible.
when
I'm
he
not
had,
arguing that
When he
point.
had Yoda say, no, there's another, I think he had Ahsoka Tano in his mind. He just hadn't named her and given her a form.
Maybe. I'll attach a maybe to that. And remember, if I did say he decided that retroactively, like maybe he decided there's another one and just left it open-ended for himself to see what he could shape of it, just in case he decided to kill Luke off, which would have just been a horrible decision. But
Well, one thing I know for sure is when George Lucas wrote the Space Odyssey that he wrote like there were never supposed to be 2 Death Stars. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, when he wrote that, there was only 1 Death Star, and he actually had to break it up so much that he had to go back and add the first one in the first movie, had to add that solely so he could end the first movie and have something happen. Yeah, he originally had written for the Death Star blowing up to be the end of the full story.
Right, yeah, he wasn't planning on it moving forward until it did really, really well, right?
Yeah, but when he went to turn it into an actual movie, he realized that he had like a 6-hour-long movie, and he was like, shit, I gotta break this up. So he just took the first act and made that New Hope, and then the second act and made that Empire, and then
Right,
the third
and then
act,
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Gotcha.
So he ended up having to have 2 Death Stars.
Well, honestly, I think it was a pretty good artistic direction to do it the way they did, especially how the rebels didn't know it was fully functional, like, and attacked it, and then it was, and they're like, oh shit! I thought that was pretty cool. But I will say this: we talked about the first one and how good it was. I was pretty disappointed that they did the Star Killer base thing. Like, come on, really? It wasn't horrible, but come on.
So the idea of the First Order. So the idea of the First Order from the new book series.
like
again, spoilers if you haven't already tuned out. The idea from the new book series, Aftermath. What Palpatine did after the destruction of the first Death Star is go out to Jakku and pick up a kid and bring him back and brainwash him. And that kid was Gallius Rax. And he gave him the official Imperial title of Outcast and sent him back to Jakku with instructions to start abducting more children, luring them into this base. They had a Empire forward operating base out there. He would lure children into that. They would abduct them and send them out into the unknown regions of space. And that's the new stormtroopers for the First Order.
Interesting.
Because Palpatine foresaw his defeat, he started planning for it. And his logic was, with Gallius Rax, that if the king is taken in a game of what is essentially chess,
Right.
if
You
the,
create a queen.
well,
send
no,
them off.
if the king's taken, you wipe the board off and start again.
Okay.
So Gallius Rax's entire mission, what he did, the Battle of Jakku that you learn about in the first movie,
Was the end of the Empire, right?
yeah, Gallius Rax was given command of the Empire through a surrogate. Like he had a person that he was using as a puppet, but he took
Right.
control of the Empire like he was supposed to. And he gathered all of the main Empire's forces at Jakku, knowing strategically he was going to fucking lose on purpose. Got them all killed off and took his best officers and the Academy officers from the Empire days and sailed off into space, and then got killed like immediately after jumping into space by one of those officers, Hux, General Hux's dad, like
Okay.
the little redheaded kid that's in the fucking movies.
The
now.
really angry guy who delivers the Nazi speech.
His dad, who had been a administrator at the academies, killed Gallius Rax and took over the First Order until somewhere along there, Supreme Leader Snoke
came along.
came in, and we'll never fucking know because he's dead now. Anyway, that's been Let's Talk Nonsense for today. We've been talking a lot of nonsense about Star Wars, and I don't remember what the first part of the episode was about. But if you enjoyed this format, it's a lot longer than our normal ones, and it's just us shooting the shit.
Yeah, just us talking. This is what we talk. This is how we have conversations on our porches while we're smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
Speaking of which, it's about time to do that, and we got Samantha Vavrick coming in soon to do a show, and we should probably go get ready for that.
Indeed.
But it's been fun talking with you guys. I hope you
It
enjoyed
has.
listening.
Indeed.
If you did enjoy this format and you want to hear more of things like this, let us know, and maybe we can start up.
Please do that.
You know, a specialized sideshow for just us talking about what we talk about.
Which is nonsense. So it's kind of fitting. I mean, it is.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later.
Toodles.